this season, we've been following the construction and landscape installation around the new Ag Hall. And you might be thinking, what does that have to do with me as a homeowner? Well, today we are talking a little bit about that specifically, and joining me is Dr. Moss. Dr. Moss, we are out here where there's a new homeowners association being built. Let's do a little bit of a site assessment of this location. What do you think?
I think it's wonderful. It's the most exciting time of one's life. You know, you get a new house,
right?
You're designing the kitchen, what tile are you gonna have? And probably the last thing you think about is my landscape or my soil or what that's gonna be like, right?
Right.
And I would say even for the builder, sometimes it's the last thing on their mind too, because the money's in the house.
Right.
And the landscape is very important, but not as important as the house. And so when they come into a site like this, you know, they're gonna move the topsoil away, right? Well, what do plants like to grow in?
Topsoil.
Topsoil.
Exactly.
So that gets all kind of scraped away because topsoil does not make for a good foundation.
And while we have soil on the top right now, it's not likely the topsoil, right?
That's right. It's you can see some piles around here where they try to pile it up, they try to save it, and they'll bring some in at kind of at the end of the process, but really it's all being scraped away. And so all that good stuff for your plants kind of gets moved away. And you know, it rains during construction, and then there's slopes and there's runoff and erosion and all these things happen, right? And so yeah, you get this beautiful home, you get this beautiful landscape, and then like the next year you're calling the county extension office say, why are my shrubs dying, or why are my trees not making it?
And that's what we've been having this conversation behind the scenes a lot with county educators and stuff. And so we wanted to sort of bring it to the forefront with homeowners about some of these issues and how they can look at their landscape a little bit differently.
That's exactly right. And of course, what are we going to say? We're extension people. You got to start with a soil
test, right?
You got to start with a soil test, but it's so important, right?
Yes.
Because you know, out here at this site, we did a few soil tests just to see what it was like, and wouldn't you know, like the organic matter is less than 1%. Mm-hmm. Well, what would we like that organic matter to be? We'd like it to be high, right? Certainly more than 0.5% or more than 1%, right? So, you know, what can we do to, and if we were vegetable farmers or something, right? Maybe we would come and cover crop it and bring in some green manure and build up that organic matter.
Which might be a little stinky in a new addition,
That's right,
right?
yeah. So we really can't do that in the landscape, in a homeowner association setting. So what can we do? What are some things we can do? What should we look out for? Well, let's pay attention to see what our organic matter is. Our soil pH. Mm-hmm. Out here, it's around 8. Well, for most plants, that's going to be okay. But there's some plants, as you get to 8, 8.1, 8.2, 8.5, you're going to start having some trouble, and maybe have trouble like with some micronutrients like iron, and some plants can't take it up because of that high pH.
And one thing I always mention when you're first doing a soil test is that's just a point on a line to be made. So you really don't know whether that 8 is going up or is it going down, and how quickly it might be changing.
Yeah,
too.
so important to monitor that over time, and maybe taking that soil test once a year until you get that landscape established and get those problems figured out. Absolutely.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing here. There are some weeds which will result in a weed seed bank to have to deal with later. Yeah. But a lot of these tend to be weeds that you find in disturbed and kind of low nutrition environments as well. Exactly right.
And so again, taking the soil test out here, guess what? We're low on nutrients. And so it is a low nitrogen environment out here. And even, you know, we don't see this a lot. Usually phosphorus in our soils is pretty okay, but even out here, the phosphorus is deficient. And in some of the samples out here, the potassium was deficient as well. So you don't see that a lot. Low organic matter, low nitrogen, low phosphorus, low potassium, kind of a higher pH. Spells trouble.
Right. And one of the things that we haven't talked about is the change in topography. And so like you can see how backyards are going to flow into other backyards when we do have a rainfall. And then the compaction issue.
That's exactly right. So another thing we can do with that soil test is do a soil texture analysis. We can also look at soil infiltration rates, how fast the water can flow through based on that soil texture. All important, right? And if we have a slope, what are we going to do, or what do we want that builder to do, maybe to put in some French drains or whatever might be needed before those problems arise, before that neighbor calls you and says, hey, your yard's flooding my house, right?
And maybe that's the ideal location for a rain garden. I know those are getting popular, especially to help slow the flow of water.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful solution. And even if you're in an HOA that's more progressive, doing that at a neighborhood scale, even better. But at least if you can do it at a yard scale, very, very effective and very efficient.
And I think, a lot of neighborhoods have those beautiful ponds, that they put walking trails around, they put a fountain in them. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people might think that that is for enjoyment, which it is. It
Yes.
adds to that. But it's really also to kind of hold that water as well.
Yeah, it really helps with flood control in your neighborhood. It has a place for that water to go when it runs off the sidewalks and the streets and maybe goes to that collection area. And having some nice plants there with your HOA is a good thing as well, yeah.
All right, well, this is just a reminder for homeowners who maybe are in a new housing addition and struggling with that landscape, because I know it tends to be just a standard landscape a lot of times that will come in, but they might have issues with it. County extension offices are always there to help, and soil testing is a great first step.
Remember, this is what it looked like before your house was there.
Probably 3 months before you
That's
moved
right.
in, right?
That's exactly right.
Thank you, Dr. Moss, for joining me today.
You bet.
For more information, check out this fact sheet.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.